Hello. Let me see. Hello. All right, Carolyn, I see you're here. Who else is here? Stevie, good morning. All right, well, let's hope that everything goes as planned today. So yesterday I had to hotspot my phone for our class. I don't know what's going to happen today. So here's to hoping that my internet will be okay. They're doing something with my internet, super frustrating. It's at the level of the street, the company bringing it in here. So it's so frustrating. Anyway, I hope that we have no interruptions. And if we do, I could hotspot my phone again. So we'll see what happens. All right. Stan, good morning. Michael, good morning. Stevie, good morning. And Carolyn, good morning. All right. This is the last week of this session. So I would like to focus on total body. And I know that some of you here struggle with back issues. So definitely there'll be that aspect of stretching our body. And then what I'd like to say is that if you do have issues in your body, if you have an area that has an issue, if you have areas in your body where you have issues, so for those of you with low back issues or some other part of your body, this is what I'd like to say is today really bring your mind to that place, because our body is always trying to protect us. And for those, especially with low back issues, there's this kind of, if you could hear your back, our backs are like saying, what's that? What's that? Wait, what's that? What that really is what's happening. And so all of the things that happen in our lives above and below our back end up going there. And our back has this intelligence of seizing up. And also because the reason why is because there's a lot of emotions also that get stored in our back. And then if we do have pain and suffering and issues in our tissues, that actually can stay in the tissues as well, because it's a lot of protection that happens in the body. So we're going to pull and push and stretch your body today like a piece of pliable Play-Doh. And the word pull can be very triggering because it sounds like, oh, wait, we're not, right? That word pull just sounds a little violent in a way. We're going to gently pull. And that pulling action, we're going to go to the right place of stress so that not only do we release the tension, we tell the muscle, we let the muscle feel safe enough to let go of the tension it's holding. We also then can safely pull on the bones that they're attached to and create a little bone stimulation in the process. All right, so the ribs, I'm hearing a lot more about ribs these days and people fracturing ribs. So very interesting to me. Rib cage, like such a, power place of protection in our body. So to think about people fracturing ribs, I had a conversation with one woman who told me she just recently fractured 3 ribs. And I said, wow, how did you do that? Do you know? She goes, I know when it happened. I felt it. And then she said, one of them, I was leaning over into the car to get something and it broke. And so it just made me think about, wow, we really need our body to be super mobile and to keep things like ribs that we don't normally ever really think about much. We need our ribs to be strong. So when we do core work, when we do twisting in our body, the muscles of this part of your body, when you do core, you're actually pulling on the ribs when you rotate your trunk. So we'll definitely have quite a bit of twisting in the practice today so that we could pull on the ribs sufficiently to create bone building. And then also so that you could be in your body in that place to kind of start to calm down the fear that may be residing in your tissues from whatever that is. Because it does have many sources. It could be that there is a trauma, something really did happen, or it could be repetitive issues from maybe sports or things that you might have participated in years and years ago, or it could be the mental emotional part of us. Because this action, if something were coming at you, the action is to go into a little ball to protect yourself. So the muscles here tense up to bring you into what's called flexion. So I don't know if that sounds too crazy or deep. This is a wellness class, and I'd like to think about our overall wellness. So even when we do move our body today, we're going to actually really do mind-body connection the whole time, trying to be in your body as much as possible so you could feel what is the safe range of motion for you and start releasing some of the stuff maybe that's being held in your body that no longer serves you. Okay, so let me just see, because I know that either somebody arrived or there was a comment. Hi, Pads, and hi, Lynn. Am I coming across really clear to you guys today? Like, is it freezing or do I sound garbled? Garbled, like a gargoyle. You know, in a lot of cultures around the world, they use gargoyles. I made myself a little bigger. Okay, gargoyles sit at the front of temples because they help to ward off the evil spirits. So if you go to Bali, you're going to see a lot of gargoyles around the temples, kind of like, you know, trying nasty looking stone statues to try to ward off, to scare away the evil spirits. Okay, perfect, Stevie. Thank you. All right. Well, most of you are my regulars, so I can visualize you out there, and Lee might be here with us as well, who's been with me for a very long time in my wellness class. I don't know if it's been since the beginning. It may be, though. All right. So for today's practice, let's get a blanket, a block, and a strap. And then, okay, so I'd like us to begin with an elevation of the pelvis to do an inversion. Now, an inversion is counterindicated if you have uncontrolled blood pressure, glaucoma, or you have a headache. So if any of those things exist for you, you want to keep your tushy on the ground. For the rest of you, we're going to come into some kind of elevation. And the goal here is to start to, well, there's a couple of goals. We're going to start to stretch the low back, because with the elevation, that actually stretches the low back from the pelvis to the rib cage. So we're going to stretch that area. It also brings the fluids to the heart. So it actually gives the heart a break from having to pump up against gravity the fluids from the lower body to the heart. So this is for your heart, this is for your low back. And then it's stimulating to the relaxation zone of the nervous system. So we're going to start off setting ourselves up with a lot of parasympathetic nervous system stimulation, which is the healing, repairing, relaxation zone of the nervous system. So you will need maybe a blanket behind your head. I'd like it to be as thin as possible. Some of you could do zero blanket, and I'm a person who could probably do zero or can do zero. I'm going to choose a very, very thin blanket because I think it feels kind of very comforting and loving. And I'll put a block underneath my pelvis because that feels appropriate for me. For some of you, though, maybe an elevation of a blanket would be sufficient. So folding the blanket up in a couple of ways. And let me actually get that to demonstrate that for you. These are actually postures that I would love for you to practice at home as often as you can. And this one here, because it is good for heart health and for relaxation, I think that's super needed right now. That's why I want to really give you some options. So having something that wasn't quite as high or hard as the block as an option. So here I'm going to have a blanket to show you what that would look like. Let's come onto our tushy for a second. Do a little bit of that warm-up action I was talking about. Do a little bit to warm up the pelvis, the hips, and the low back, so that when we come in this position, our body will be a little bit more receptive and have a little bit more fluidity in that area. So you're going to sit on your tushy. Your hands are alongside your body. Move your knees side to side, starting to warm up the hips and the pelvis. Let your legs stay to one side. And then bring your legs up, let your legs go to the other side. And then bring yourself up. Let's see if we could come into some gentle twist in a seated position here. So I know that for some of you, your bodies are tighter. So a wider stance in your legs will give you a little bit more freedom. And then even if you need to reach down and grab the flesh of your buttocks and move it back, it actually exposes your pelvis in a way that becomes very supportive in a seated position. So try that for a second. And then let's take your hand, one hand behind you, one hand on your leg. Start to do a gentle twist in the trunk. And if the legs like that don't feel good, you could even come onto your leg and do a gentle twist. Nothing too crazy. Just a little bit here to start to warm up the tissues of your body and to bring fluids that can be very safe and hydrating. Let's go to the other side. You're either going to sit on your body and do your gentle twist, or you can have your legs a little bit wider, sitting up and twisting. And then go ahead and bring yourself out. So just a little bit there to get you going. Let's come down onto the ground. So the practice of yoga, to get that mind-body connection, we need to slow down the mind. And when you physically put yourself in a position of flat, like the closer you get to flat, the more stimulation you have to the relaxation zone of the body. So the actual physical position of being on the ground is one way to start to get the slowing down of the mental energy, grounding that mental energy. And then you're going to decide here if you would like to have a pillow or a folded up blanket underneath your pelvis to be that gentle downward movement of an inversion, elevating the pelvis higher than the heart so that you're actually helping your back here or helping your heart here and your back. Or you come into a tall block. And I know for some people the block can be a little bit too high and too hard. So you have to find what's right for you. If you are on a block, and even a blanket to that matter, you actually could start to do a little bit of pelvic correction. So depending on if you have a pelvis that's out of alignment, which I do from having one fake hip and one real hip, my total hip replacement versus my real hip, that's actually causing stuff to happen in my body because, of course, that's plastic, ceramic, and titanium, and the nerves don't communicate that with that the same way they do with bone, and the integration, like something that's been in my body all these years versus something that's only been here for a few years. So one thing that's really nice to do when you go here is you want to make sure there's no caving of your chest. So if you put your arms in the ground, you lift your upper body away from the floor and you slide your shoulder blades closer to the spine. You put them in a position where they can help the caving of the rib cage. Now you may feel some stretch here at the hip bones. You may feel stuff in your low back. If your low back is a little bit cranky right now, why don't you gently begin to do some bear hugs? Take your core, turn your lower body into like a corset or an hourglass. Let's do that on our exhales. So we're going to gently, on the exhalation, hug the lumbar spine with the body. Feel that lift of the pelvic floor as well, and maybe even a lowering of the front ribs as you activate the diaphragm. So take an inhale, and as you inhale, a gentle exhale, gentle hug of the lower body. Inhale to release. And exhale, gentle hug. Inhale. Exhale. Be in your belly, be in your back, be in your belly as you exhale to gently hug your lumbar spine. And then if your hands are not down alongside your body, let your hands either go right down alongside your body or you can put them out to the side, bending your elbows. That'll also help to lift the chest up towards the sky. And stay with this gentle contraction on the exhale
activation of pelvic floor, activation of core, hugging the lumbar spine, and see what you can notice when you do that. Can you feel your pelvic floor activate, which is the base of your torso? So your core is like a cylinder. The bottom of the cylinder is the pelvic floor, the top is the diaphragm, and the whole circular part around are the core muscles, the obliques that wrap from side to side, transverse abdominis, and then the rectus abdominis is the top layer that brings the lower ribs closer to the pelvis and really helps to bring the pubic bone towards the low ribs. So that flexion position happens with the rectus abdominis, the top layer, your six pack. And even if you think your six pack is not developed or defined with all the ridges, it still exists. So as you inhale, feel the widening of the belly and the area between the lower ribs and where the legs attach to your body. And on the exhale, this contraction, even pushing your low back towards the floor, adding a slight posterior tilt in your pelvis, maybe, meaning your pelvis rocks a little bit. Inhale to soften and release. Exhale, gentle contraction. Eyes are closed. You're in your body, feeling and noticing what you notice, getting a little familiar and comfortable with your body, talking to your brain and communicating so that you're actually turning on certain muscles in your body. In this case, it happens to be the core, a very important set of muscles to protect your low back, to protect your body, and that we need to have nice and strong for balance, posture, alignment, for keeping the minerals in the bones, and for fall prevention, to save yourself from fractures and all that entails. So you're still using the muscular action. Your awareness is in your belly. Pelvic floor, obliques, feel your belly getting more narrow. Maybe the pelvis tilts backwards. One more. And then allow yourself to relax. So begin to set up your mouth so that your back teeth are separated, your lips are barely touching, you're very relaxed in your jaw. You could pick your head up off the floor and lengthen the back neck if you'd like, tucking the chin closer to the chest. Bringing your awareness to your nostrils and breathing deep to the lower ribs, so that the part of your torso you feel moving is the lower belly, the part of you that's in between the lower ribs and where the legs attach to your body. And then, because there are two sides to your diaphragm, the right side and the left side, See if you could breathe to the lower left side of your body. So right at your belly button, think about the lower ribs from the belly button all the way around to the center of your back. And breathe down to that area. Keep your mind, if you're doing the left side, try left side first. Keep your mind on the left side of your lower ribs and direct your breath there down to where your lower leg is. Maybe you're able to separate them out and maybe not. Just bring your awareness there. Try to feel it all the way around to the lower left side of your body, the low back. And then bring your awareness to the lower right side of your body, all the way around the lower right ribs, all the way around to the back of the body on the right side. And start to breathe down to your right side. And then to both sides, using your whole diaphragm. If you'd like to bring your feet a little closer, bring your knees right above your pelvis. We could make this even a deeper experience, a deeper inversion. And then if you'd like to do even more, you could bring your legs up towards the sky, allowing the blood to flow from the pinky toes all the way back down to the heart, letting gravity assist the flow of the fluids, the blood, the lymphatic fluids, and then anything that takes place of percolating fluids through your tissues. So speaking about fluids that are outside of the circulatory system, letting gravity bring all that down. And there has been mention of varicose veins, and this may be supportive of varicose veins. I'm not sure if there's evidence to support that. In yoga, they say to put your legs up to help the veins and to help varicose veins. So keeping your breath to the diaphragm, filling up the belly with breath. And if you'd like to use a visual here of a waterfall, The water is falling from the feet or the knees down to the pelvis, puddling in the pelvis. So visualizing a waterfall, and at the bottom of the waterfall is a beautiful pool of water. And then to further that, there's another pool of water that streams and feeds, that's up by your heart. So you can visualize beautiful water in your pelvic area, tummy area, and then another puddle of water or pool of water up by your heart. And if there is a visual you'd like, place you've been, image you've seen, really experience the water, the glistening of the sun on the water, the color of the water, the vegetation that's around the water, the stones, the earth, the plants. I'm going to take 5 more breaths like this. When you finish that last breath, if your legs are up in the air, gently bend the knees. Bringing the feet to the floor. And notice if you feel the fluids coming back in the feet once you bend the knees like that. Feeling the coolness of the fluid as it comes back. Let your body settle here. And then bring your awareness to whatever the support is that's underneath your pelvis. It could be a block, could be a blanket. We're going to take 3 attempts before we actually lift ourselves up. So I want you to feel the muscles that relaxed to let the weight of the pelvis go. Feel the heaviness of your pelvis. It's the largest bony structure in your body. So I want you to feel that. So bring your feet a little bit wider than your body or at body distance, and then push your feet into the floor. Start to push your feet into the floor and see how that starts to lift a little bit of the tension away from the pelvis, almost as if you could lift it up. And then slowly start to take the tension away from the feet and feel how that pressure goes back to the pelvis. Again, press the feet into the floor, lift the pelvis. And lower down the pelvis. We'll let the feet lift. And again, press the feet into the floor. This time, keep pushing the feet into the floor. Lift your pelvis and take your block or your blanket out to the side. And then when you put your pelvis down, tilt your pelvis backwards so you lengthen your low back, stretching the lower vertebra. Allow your back to come down onto the ground. Let your pelvis connect. And then let's lengthen the body. So take your legs long. Take your arms overhead. Flex your wrists so your fingers go out to the side, your palms face backwards. And then flex your feet, walk them closer together so they're only about 5 inches apart. Palms are reaching up towards the wall behind you. Heels of the hands are reaching up to the wall behind you. Soles of the feet, heels of the feet are reaching away from you. Lengthen your body here. Take one more breath. And then let's bend your knees. Draw the knees in one at a time to the body. Now you're coming into a flexion in the lower back. Pelvis is tilting. And then go slow side to side here. Massaging the low back. And then go ahead and put your feet down on the ground. Now, more than likely, you have a very narrow blanket here. So I'd like you to make your blanket either a double fold if it was a single. And then for those of you that have a lot of tightness in your lower body, make it even more of a fold. So fold it up again in another fold. Because if you elevate your head here and you take away the tension from the upper spine, we'll be able to do a little bit more here with the low back area. So we're really going to focus here on this midsection of your body because this is where a lot of protection comes in. We call it the low back most of the time, right? This low back area. It really is more than that. It's the whole core. It's the pelvic floor. It's your obliques, which are your rotation muscles, the front of the body. So we want as much space in this part of our body as possible. We want no pulling from that lower body and really raising your body awareness to this part of your body so that when you do move, especially if you bend over to get something, or if you bend over to get something and you rotate to get it. So you bend over and then you reach to the side to get it. That's the way I would say most people put their backs out or injure themselves with their backs. Whenever I'm working with someone with back issues, I say, what'd you do? I was just bending over, reaching for something. So there's the bend and the reach. So let's bend and reach here and stretch safely so that we create space. And we all need a really strong back because that's going to help with so many other things. All right, let's begin to warm up our back area first. So reach one knee up and take your hand and take the hand on top of the kneecap. And then reach the other leg up and hold on to the kneecap and really hold on and let go of the legs doing the work. So that if you did let go, try this, let go and see how your leg would fall because you're not holding up with your legs and your hip flexor muscles. You're trying to let go of your hip flexor muscles that bend your hip and you're trying to let your hands do the job. And then let's begin by going in circles and circles in a different direction each knee. So you move away from your body, you move wide, you move towards your armpits, knees go towards each other, away, wide, armpits together. Go slow. This is a really big circle. So if you feel that it's too much stretch for your inner thighs to begin with, then hold on to your kneecaps a little more strongly and do a smaller circle. Nice, lubricating the hip joint. And then come back to center. Let's go in the other direction. So draw the knees towards you. Let them go as far apart as they will. Feel the inner thighs stretch. Move them away from you in this stretched position. Go slow. And then move them towards each other with your hands, not with your legs. Away. Together. And then bring yourself back to center. Hold on to the knees still. Inhale. Exhale, draw the knees straight in. Feel the low back pressing into the floor. Inhale to straighten the arms. Exhale to bend the elbows. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend. Now, when you bend the legs in, this is important. You want the top thighs to press against your belly, which is going to push the low back towards the floor. And then some of you may have a little bit more stored energy on your belly. So you actually get a little bonus there. Before my hip replacement, which was 4 years ago, I weighed probably almost 30 pounds more than I do now. So I had a lot of stored energy in my belly. And I remember doing this, it's called Apanasana, or knees to chest. I remember when I would do this and I would squeeze my belly with my top thighs, because both those areas had extra stored energy. I would feel a really nice deep release in my low back. And I would also be frustrated with the extra weight I was carrying on my body. So it's important that if you do come up against some stored energy, you just notice it lovingly, you squeeze it. Think about how good it is that you get to press your lymph nodes even more than someone that doesn't have that stored energy there. You get to squeeze your lymph nodes and push that lymphatic fluid back into the wherever it's going to go, so that it could get into the system and be cleansed. And then go ahead and bring your knees all the way down. And the other thing is, the opportunity always exists for us to utilize that, whether we rebalance our minerals, which for me has been very effective to helping to boost up my metabolism to burn through that stored energy, or we make it a commitment to ourselves that we're going to grab the bull by the horns and make some shifts in our lifestyle to actually get and utilize that power and that energy. Look at it as power cells, right? Power storage. All right. Yeah, I guess that's what we could do. We could turn us into superheroes. And if we have extra storage on our body, we could start to look at it as like backpacks of storage. And then we're going to tap into that storage. So there really could be a really great way to tap into burning through that stored energy mentally, thinking of it as, okay, I've been saving this power pack for this next 3 months because I'm going to need it to do what I'm going to do here to get, do this for my body or whatever. All right, arms are to the side, pretty wide. So you feel a stretch right where your arms attach to your body, and decide what's appropriate for your shoulders, for your chest muscles to stretch, what's appropriate for you. And then begin to let the legs go side to side. The feet are as wide as the mat. Start to let your legs go side to side. Not too far here, just a little bit. You're starting to warm up those rotational muscles. And actually take one hand on the opposite side of your body, right where your waist area is, and feel movement of those muscles. You could try one side and then the other. I definitely feel one side is developed more than the other. That's super interesting. All right. Obliques, don't worry, I'll get to you. And then let's come all the way wide now off the mat. You see, this body awareness, I think, is so important to learn, because when you find areas that you have that are different than the other, when you find that asymmetry, you can work on healing yourself. So I have asymmetry from one hip replacement, one not. And I know that I have stuff happening here in my right side. It's my natural hip. So when I had us feel that there, you're going to feel the obliques are going to be moving here, right? So I really feel that lateral chain muscle group. And when I do it on the other side, it's so weak. So what does that tell me? Oh my goodness, you're stronger on the right, weaker on the left. So what am I going to do? I'm going to do side plank and exercises for my left side to make it stronger, to be as strong as this. So that light bulb of awareness is going to be very helpful for me protecting my issues and whatever I have going on in my midsection. All right, feet are wide, arms are out to the side. Let's inhale to let your legs go to one side. Exhale, belly button to spine to come up to the other. Inhale to the other side. And keep going. Let your head go the opposite direction of your knees. So let the head go to the opposite direction of your knees, as long as it feels okay for your body. Close your eyes and feel the midsection stretching. Next time you get to the left, stay there. Let your legs stay there. Reach your right arm, flex your wrist. Reach, 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 and then lengthen on the right side as much as you can. So try to pull the lower ribs away from your pelvis. Feel that stretch in your waist. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself back to center. Let's go to the other side. Let your legs go over to the right. And then let your head go to the left. Reach your hand off the ground, flex the wrist. Stretch the left side body as much as you can. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself back to center. Walk your feet back. Bring the knees into the chest in case anything got off center somehow. So now we're going to lengthen our psoas because this is a really important. It's about 16 inches long. Of us elbow to fingertip. So even if you were to put your up, it basically putting it along your side of the body. Really, it's kind of like close. I think this is fascinating. Body and these dimensions of the body, because this is about psoas. The diameter of the psoas is about what wrist is. I had a tell us about the girth of a wrist. It's really our filet mignon and the filet mignon of the cow. It's the pork loin of the pig. So put your arm along here from your elbow to your fingertips. And that right there in you is what you're going to stretch. So we're going to do a move where we're going to bring our arm overhead. And we're here, we're going to reach our arm away to try to lift our rib cage away and push your leg away. So this muscle here is being lengthened as much as possible. And the reason why this works is because the only muscle that attaches the upper and lower body is the psoas. So in the body, well, other attachment here, but the lower and body are attached to that psoas. So we're going to try to get you to feel left bent. Let your left alongside your to the side. Palm faces the body or the body, thumbs up towards the sky. And exhale to prepare. As you inhale, overhead, stretch your right as much as you can and bring yourself back to center. Now don't go too crazy so that you go extension in the lower part, cause a pull or a swing in your lower. So not too big on this is our and we are. So I want today. It seems is where this is. The issue. All right, let's prepare. Arm up, the right leg away. Exhale back to center. Inhale to lengthen, leg away from you, arm overhead. Exhale back to center. Last one. Inhale to lengthen in this position. Exhale to come back to center. Two more like that. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, relax. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, come back. One more. Inhale, lengthen. Relax. Inhale, lengthen. And then come back to neutral. Let's bend the right leg. Take the left arm down by your side. Take the left leg long. Right arm to the side. Now we're doing the same thing on the left side. Exhale to prepare. Inhale. Lengthen left leg away from you and left arm up over